The Santa Rosa Blue Hole Tragedy. On March 26, 2016, two skilled cave divers went on a dangerous mission to map an unexplored part of a cave system in Santa Rosa, New Mexico. Unfortunately, something terrible happened. Deeper caves beneath its floor were sealed in 1976 after two divers died. In 2016, after reopening the entrance, a 10-person team, including experienced cave divers Mike Young and Navy veteran Shane Thompson, spent 3 days exploring the reopened tunnels and chambers. On the third and last day, Mike and Shane planned to explore a very tight spot at 140 feet, then move down to another narrow opening at 165 feet. Shane was told to wait at the open area and not go past the second opening himself. Beyond the 165-foot point, there were 5 more tight spots before the cave's last known area. Mike followed a guideline that had been set earlier, moving through boulders and squeezing through narrow passages while carrying tanks on his side and a rebreather unit. Shane had been following Mike up to the 165-foot opening. There, Mike told him to wait, but as soon as Mike was out of sight, Shane decided to follow him, even though that was against their plan. Mike did not know that Shane was right behind him. Shane followed the guideline along a rocky path over large boulders and sharp bends until he reached a narrow 3-foot opening. At that point, the water was full of silt, and he ran into another tight passage. He turned his body and tried to pull himself along the wall, but his back-mounted rebreather got caught on a rock sticking out from the tunnel ceiling. With one arm forward and the other touching the cave wall and the guideline, he twisted, trying to free himself. Soon he found that he was stuck between the rocks. Moving backwards could have damaged his rebreather, which would have been very dangerous. As he panicked, his breathing became fast and shallow. Suddenly, Mike's arm hit Shane's head, and they ended up face to face at about 195 feet deep. Mike was surprised to find Shane there, and Shane said he was stuck and needed help. Mike tried for several minutes to free him, but they began to panic because the tunnel was too tight for both of them to move if Shane remained trapped. Finally, Mike pushed Shane in just the right way to free his rebreather and pulled him through the tight spot. Shane then went back through the restriction he had just escaped, scraping himself on the rocks but avoiding getting stuck like the first time. Mike followed, but soon noticed that Shane had accidentally moved the guideline, leaving Mike unable to see where to go in the boulder-filled passage. Meanwhile, Shane continued along the winding path and faced yet another narrow passage. Still in panic, he moved too quickly and got the guideline tangled around his legs. He managed to free himself but lost the guideline in the process. His heart began to race and his breathing sped up. This was dangerous because rebreathers needed controlled breathing to work properly. With no clear exit and only tight holes around him, he could not reach the guideline he had seen just outside where he was trapped. He started to hyperventilate and could not calm down. At that moment, Mike reappeared. Seeing that Shane was very scared, Mike moved around the rocks to find an opening. He grabbed Shane by the shoulders and turned him around. Shane, seeing a way out, lunged forward and swam under Mike, but he became trapped again, this time underneath Mike's body, unable to move forward. In desperation, Shane thrashed and kicked while Mike protected his face from the blows. During the struggle, Shane's heels tore Mike's suit and scraped him against the rocks before Shane finally broke free. Afterwards, Mike realized he was still able to function and that his equipment was mostly okay, except for a ripped suit valve that let the 52 degrees Fahrenheit water in. He had also lost a fin, but managed to get it back soon after. With his nerves wrecked, Shane continued along the guideline, determined to escape. His rebreather could not keep up with his fast breathing, so he switched to his emergency bailout tank for air. Approaching another series of tight spots, he pulled himself through with all his strength, but got stuck for the third time. And this time, Mike was nowhere in sight. Meanwhile, Mike had climbed a little and found a hole leading back to the guideline. Believing that Shane had gone ahead, he followed the line upward toward the next restriction. Feeling tension on the line, he assumed that Shane was pulling from the front. At the next tie-off, however, Mike realized that Shane was actually behind him, still attached to an earlier part of the guideline. Fearing the worst for Shane, Mike backtracked through the tight passages and boulders. But soon, the line stopped moving, a sign that Shane was in serious trouble. Pressing on, Mike discovered Shane wedged tightly in a narrow opening, lifeless, and no longer wearing his rebreather mouthpiece. His bailout tank was empty, his suit was torn, and the cord to his dive computer was ripped away. It was clear that Shane had fought hard to free himself, but had not survived. Mike tried to free Shane, but soon realized he had to start to get out and report the tragedy to the rest of the team. He returned the next day to recover Shane's body, having navigated those tight, maze-like passages through the boulder field all by himself.